There is the typical, you know, if they've been in combat, they're not going to talk about it. And that's sort of something that people are told either growing up or if they've got family members like, Uncle so and so or Grandpa so and so. They're just not, they never talked about it. They're not going to talk about it. Do you find that to be true more often than not? And also with that, how difficult is it for you to have them open up to you about their war stories?
Honestly, it was hard in the early days, and I think it was just a humility thing, honestly, amongst the Iraq and Afghanistan guys. First of all, I did not have any reputation within this work. So then coming to guys and being like, hey, can I follow you around for the day with a camera? It's like, well, why? Like, that's weird. Don't ask me any questions again, weirdo. So it was strange in the beginning because I had no resume of work really to show. So I was denied about not, 8 out of 10 times I was told like, "Hey, get lost." I'm not doing that. And then I had those first four stories that I got, and after that it picked up. But now the project's at a level where most people in the veteran community know about it, so it's not tough. In fact, I got to put guys on a list nowadays because we have so many stories that we're able to take. But getting them to talk about their stories once I get in the room, absolutely not hard at all. And I think that's just the brotherhood. I've had a lot of guys tell me just flat out, no offense, but if you're a civilian, I wouldn't tell you my stories. Like some of these darker, heavier stories, if you like look into some of the meat and potatoes of some of those heavy, heavy stories, there's some real rough stuff for anybody to read, stuff that I never really read about in books. And so hearing some of the details of some of these actions that took place in World War II, Vietnam, um, you know, many times I'm sitting in the room and the kids who are with their father or their older brother, in the case of Vietnam or World War II, will tell me, well, their jaws will just be dropped by the end of the interview because they're like, I thought grandpa or dad had told me everything. He definitely didn't tell me about that. And so realizing that they're talking about these things for the first time in their lives sometimes. And I think that having that veteran perspective, I'm not against civilians going and telling these stories by any means. But I know that a lot of the stories that I've told on my side, they flat out wouldn't tell it to civilian, and they've been pretty honest about that. So it's just a perspective thing for me from the brotherhood side, where I'm able to go into the room and kind of have that shared perspective, and that's definitely helped me out a lot. So I didn't know it was as big of an issue as it was, but it's just like anything. I mean, if you're a minority in a certain demographic, maybe you don't want a white guy coming in and telling your story, or it's the demographic understands the demographic, and so some people are going to be okay with it, but a lot in this community aren't.